Did it? Madrid spending 90 million on a 30-year-old.
Mm.
Listen, I think Bruno's excellent. I've jumped to his defense a lot. I do not believe that Real Madrid would pay 90 million for him now, though. Is Bruno a 90 million pound player?
Maybe not his age, though.
Yeah, exactly. To invest into Bruno now to give him a 5-year deal, he's not a
It's
90
at
million pound player.
26, then yeah,
Yeah,
but not
but
not at
he
30, 30
is
going
he
on 31.
operating? Is he operating at the level of a 90 million pound player?
Hmm.
Is he operating at a
Depends
100
on
million
our
pound
level
player?
of competition. What do you think about that? I mean,
Yeah,
what is a 90 million pound player in today's world? It's hard to know. The
true. Because
market's been so
apparently,
crazy.
like Ridwan says, apparently Tyler Diblin is one.
Yeah,
So
well then Bruno's definitely
do I-
well ahead of that. Definitely.
he says
Yeah,
Bruno's fitter
well,
than most 25-year-olds. I mean,
I mean, I know it's different
how much is
positions
Bruno
here,
worth?
but I know
Hold
this
on
is
a
different.
minute.
I know this is different positions here, yeah. But when we think about Harry Kane went to Bayern Munich for around 90 million, 100 million quid, something like that. He was 30 at the time, 29 at the time, 29, 30.
Mm.
And if you're saying that, well, it's different because Harry Kane scores goals, he's guaranteed goals. Hey, Bruno Fernandes guaranteed goals and assists. Look at his numbers since he's been at United. So
Hold on,
if you're that
wait.
much of a guarantee in terms of you will definitely, because Harry Kane's a perfect example, right? Obviously, he never won anything in his career because he was at Spurs, but guaranteed numbers. He has proved that whether he plays for Spurs, or he plays for England, or he plays for Bayern, guaranteed numbers, not guaranteed trophies, but guaranteed numbers.
Yes.
And according to that, he's like, I think it was saying 110 million euros. That's around 100 million quid, right? Just under. So is there much difference between that and Bruno? At the same
Bruno's
age?
contract is up in 2017.
I mean, he's just signed a new one, didn't he?
He's just signed a new one, and it's got an option to further. So he's got to 2028. So essentially, we've got Bruno for 3 years, and he's playing at this level. If we were to sell him in the summer, what is Bruno Fernandes worth, please, guys? This is to everyone. I want to open the floor here because actually, we're going, Madrid ain't paying 90 million for him. We say Madrid wouldn't do that just because they don't buy 30-year-olds for 90 million quid. That's why. Yeah. But in terms of Bruno Fernandes for sale in the summer, what is he worth? Can we have a discussion around this, please?
I mean, if I was thinking of a club like Juventus, 80, 90 million, they've done it before for players of, his age and all of that. I think that's fair, but depends who, right? Depends who.
There's not a lot of people. I don't know. He's operating at a top class level where you know what you're going to get. But there's probably not many teams in world football that would buy him for 90 plus.
No.
Well,
it feels weird. I don't know who.
It's a little bit unique too. His position, the way he plays, all of that. It's not something every team even uses. Is a player who's like that.
Exactly.
That main line through the attack for everything. Not many teams do that anymore.
That was what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. The thing of. Look at Jack Grealish when he left Aston Villa to go to City, right? And obviously now, in retrospect, we go like, well, they signed 100 million quid. He's not worth that. But to Aston Villa at the time, legitimately, he was worth 100 million pounds. He kept them in the Premier League.
Kept them up.
Yeah, exactly. So to them, that was worth 100 million pounds. To us, Bruno Fernandes, as well, depends on who you ask in the fan base, because if you ask some, we'd be much further high up the league without him. Others, if you ask them, they'll say, well, we'd be in a relegation fight this season, without Bruno Fernandes. You want to talk about the money that we've lost over the last 5 years. Would we have lost more without Bruno? So, like, in terms of his actual empirical value of like what he brings to our team, whether you like it or not, it's a lot, regardless of his age. Because if you take him out, we're worse off. We're worse off. So how much is it to be worse off, basically?
Whereas Wally says, as it stands now, he's roughly between 70 and 85 million. But if he leads us to win the Europa League, he goes to 95, 100. JPNT says, how many Dorgus could we buy if we sell Bruno? Which is
a lot of Dorgus.
A lot of Dorgus, bro, especially at 40k a week. That's for sure. I do think it's a really interesting one because it's you hear the story and you go, listen, total rubbish. Real Madrid aren't buying a 30-year-old, number 10 as well, for 90 million pounds. So you kind of rubbish the story, and then you go, okay, well, you do what we're doing here. Actually, how much is he worth, by the way? And then you have to go one further. Let's just discuss, because it's a hypothetical story, but sometimes I like hypotheticals because it leads to bigger conversations, right? If we were offered a crazy amount of money for Bruno Fernandes in the summer, trying to rebuild the team, it's 30, probably he's not going to get any better than this because he's at the top level. Do you look at it? If one of these big teams came in and did put 80 million down, 85 million down, 90 million down, do you look at that? And secondly, I was just with Bruno. We caught up with Bruno after the Europa League game against Sociedad at home, and he said, I had offers to leave last season. However, I spoke to the team and the management and saw what the plans were, and obviously he decided to stay. But could Bruno, if a big offer like that came in from Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juve, I don't know, could he go, well, I do want to, I've got about 4 years left at the top, maybe. I'll tell you what. Is there something that could happen in the summer is what I'm getting at?
I feel like it is, and I feel like that's why it was a subject of discussion last summer for him. Because if you look at it, let's say we don't get into the Champions League. We don't win the Europa. There's no Europe next year. That means there's not that much money. There's money to spend. There will be some transfers that way, but not that much. And you have to look at both sides of the coin and say, he's only got a few years left. If we don't make in the Champions League next year, that means next year's definitely another rebuild year. It's another year of young players, of a few young players on low wages coming in, building up this team to try to get back to Europa. Then it's another year of probably Europa League. Then it's you're maybe getting into Champions League and starting to compete. And by that time, he's in the final year of his contract again. And you start to think from both sides of this, that 80 million might look pretty good to rebuild the whole squad faster and speed this process up. But for him, it's also, you could go somewhere and compete now, win some trophies now, play at the highest level before it's too late. I'm not saying I would want to, or he would want to, or they would want to, but you kind of have to consider it a little bit, that it makes some sense for all parties. Like it kind of could be best for everybody at that point, depending on his
crazy,
view,
When you put it like that and you actually think about it, the first thing, like you say, the first staple thing is can't afford to sell him as our best player. What are you talking about? Gets goals, gets assists. Like he's the best thing about Man United. That's true. Well, depending on who you speak to, because some people go, why are we even talking about this? If that money comes in, I'm getting rid of that waste of space, that bum. Depending on who you speak to, right? The fan base. I can speak for me. I know you guys are big fans of Bruno as well, so I'll speak for this show. Let's say he's our best player. He's our most consistent player, most influential player. But even though I'm a big backer of Bruno, if there's a significant amount that comes in, you're not wishing him away. But it's like if all of those things marry up, where you go, he deserves someone like him that you've wasted your best years at Man United.
To a degree,
to a degree. I mean, you can't rubbish his achievements and what he's done and how he's endeared himself to the football club and how much he loves playing for Man United. But if he did play for Barcelona, or if he did play for Bayern Munich, or if he did play for Real Madrid, he would have a whole lot more in these last 5 years than he has now.
And his numbers wouldn't change. That's the other thing.
And his numbers wouldn't change. So then you go, if he wants to move in the summer, like what you're saying, I wouldn't begrudge him that. And if it was for a big fee, I go, it's a shame. Love Bruno, but don't begrudge him that. Done more than his fair share and get that money and reinvest in the team. I wouldn't be absolutely not reject that at all costs. Because, we are trying to rebuild a squad here.
I think it'd be up to what he wants as well. I mean, I remember you saying to me when he did say that after that Sociedad game, when he was like, oh, yeah, the reason why we had the discussions is I had an offer. I remember you sort of saying oh, did he just say that? He just came out and went, I had an offer. And I mean, James, you might know this better than I, but I think the suggestion was that might have been a Saudi offer as opposed to necessarily a big European offer.
But there was talks with PSG and Bayern as well.
And Bayern, there was links certainly with Bayern. So you could see him going to those clubs and again doing well. He's one of those players I feel like that. You see him across Europe, and especially when you get to the business end of the season, like we're at now, where you get the Romanos and that they go, Bruno Fernandes at Bayern Munich this season, he's got 25 assists in all comps. You could just see that kind of sort of press being put around him. And maybe there might be a time where he just goes, you know what, actually, I kind of do want to end my career with winning stuff because he is a winner. But I also do feel like he legitimately does love Manchester United. His family is very settled being at Manchester United. He likes being the captain and the sort of dressing room leader, if you will. And I think he kind of likes having that responsibility of, as the club is going through this rebuild, if he could just win one, win one, let's say it was a Premier League title, even if it was like right at the end of his career, he's 36, 37 years old, and he could do it, that would mean a lot to him. If he could do it, have a bit of a Brian Robson where majority of his Man United career, it's only FA Cups and kind of, domestic cup trophies. And right at the end of his career, he wins a couple of Premier Leagues or something like that. You feel like that would mean a lot more to him because he is connected to the club. But if a big club did come in for him, especially with, we were saying with the financial situation, it might be one of those ones where, like they're saying with Kobe or Garnacho, where it's just difficult to say no if it's a lot of money because we need the money. But
the money,
as we've seen many a time with Manchester United, as often as we say you need to get this player out or this player needs to go, blah blah blah, that's half the equation. The other half is, are you able to replace them with someone equal to or better than? Whether not even necessarily in terms of numbers, but just helping the team that moves us forward. Because like we've seen with Andre Onana, getting rid of De Gea, wasn't the wrong decision. But who we brought in, that was also
but
that
replacing
was the wrong
someone
decision.
like Bruno, the person would always be. No, actually, not always. Might not replicate exactly him. But then what we're able to do, the team's just a new type of team. There isn't this one guy where just everything goes through and there's this one guy who gets like 20 GA every year and stuff like that. It's just a new look. It's just a new thing. Yeah. Or you buy a couple of people like Bruno, that there's one guy that does all right, then you take him out and the next guy comes in and he's just as good. It's just different. I just think it would just be, there's no more that type. Because I was just looking at his career just quickly. In terms of like, if you put yourself in Bruno's shoes to sort of look back on his career, because he's 30 now, he's got 2 league titles for Sporting. He's got a Carabao Cup for us. He's got an FA Cup for us. So he's only won 2 things at United. He's got the Nations League with Portugal, but that's like, okay, cool, but it's not the biggest. And he's got another cup with Sporting as well.
He shouldn't have league titles.
Yeah, he didn't win the league at Sporting.
Because they won for the first time with Emerim after he arrived.
Portugal League Cup. Sorry, Portugal.
Yeah, the League
Cup.
Yeah, sorry, but not the league.
He's got he's got Portuguese Cup winner and Portuguese League Cup. So there you go.
That's the slam against him, is that he left Sporting and then they started winning.
Right before they won.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. So there you go. So he hasn't. For how good he's
really
been,
won a league title.
He hasn't won a league title, and like for a player as big as that, of course, what will get thrown at him is, you're dead. You didn't even win a league. So it's like that. When does his Harry Kane thing kick in? Of like, you know what? I've done 5 years at United. I've done a good stint at Sporting. I've done a good stint at Italy. Where was he against? Where was he?
It was
Sampdoria. Right? It was Sampdoria, isn't it? Was it Udinese?
So.
Was it Udinese?
It was no. Who are we thinking of? Because I swear there's some.
It was
Sampdoria.
It was Udinese and Sampdoria, both right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's it. Yeah. There you go. So he's been in Italy, Portugal, and England for his career, main part of his professional career, and that league title's evaded him. A league title in any of those countries. If he gets like one last roll at the dice, but maybe he could move. Which is weird. Could he get a move like on a free, or get a move, for low money to a good team that is like guaranteed? So like, could he go to Bayern as like later a squad player? Yeah, like
33 or
he's
something.
33. Yeah. He could chip in as long as you've got Musiala running around. You bring on Bruno off the bench, and he gets a league title that way. I don't know.
I mean, they've done it. And Madrid have done it. Look how old, Modric and them still playing and still kicking on at that time, but. Yeah, it is an interesting question because it all comes back to that, that thing on like this. I think it's on because selling Bruno, obviously there'd be debate on this about whether it would make us better or not. If you sell Bruno and you buy one player, I don't think you're going to get better, And so it's like if you go to the Champions League and you get there and you sell Bruno to buy one player, it may not do anything for you.